The children who came on the bus, there was no lunchroom, so they would bring their lunch in a brown bag and find a place to eat it. The old home study club, the ladies there had done many things for the town, and they decided the children needed something hot at lunch. So they provided soup or cocoa for lunch. Soup was a can of Campbell's soup, and they counted the number of students that needed a lunch before they opened the can. They didn't waste one single bit. But this was Depression days. You didn't waste anything.
Growing up in Ashland was a great experience. When I grew up, there were 29 kids in my graduating class from high school, and there were 135 children in the entire high school. Well, I think one of the best football team I ever played on was in my the fall of 1952, which was our senior football team. And one of the interesting things is that we were undefeated. And the quarterback of that team was Scooch Dejari, who still resides in Ashland. And 25 years later, we had another undefeated team, and Scooch Dejari was the coach of that team.
In 1946, we had a Centennial. I was 10, and they had a huge thing going on over it. Well, it was like an Ashland Day would be now. All kinds of people, all kinds of activities, all kinds of food, things like that.
Outside of the school, there wasn't too much to do. And when Father Donahue came to St. Cecilia's, he decided that the children needed something. And so he decided he'd start a band. Nobody played instruments, but he was going to start a band. So he arranged for Fred Adams from Framingham to be the instructor for the trumpets. We went up one week, and there were about 50 of us. We didn't know what we were coming for, but if there were several children in the family, the first one got a trumpet. Maybe the second one got a trumpet too, because they would be about the third one before they got to the drum. The difference being that you had to buy your trumpet, and the church owned the drums. All you owned was the drumsticks. So if you had several children in the family, or even two, so Peggy Malloy played trumpet, Helen Malloy played drums, and Jibby Rice played trumpet, and John Rice played drums. So that was about the way it went. But they had to learn how to play.
The family moved to Ashland in '36. That's when we became part of the town. And I was immediately enamored of the railroad. That's the thing. I spent all my time downtown, including that. I saw the steam locomotive. There was a turntable there. I went looking for it this weekend. There's still a trace of it. And I actually watched the locomotive being turned around in reverse direction with 4 people pushing the thing. Not steam-powered, not anything. It was by hand. And I didn't really appreciate how spectacular that was,
In the winter, they would close Tri-Street totally to traffic, and we would slide down the hill all winter long. The street lights were on. We would be out there at night. Older people were out. It was families. It was dogs. It was so exciting. Those were great days.
Sledding on Tri-Street, circa 1943. The double-runner sled was built by Frank Pierce, who lived in the house in the background. Steering the sled is Alan R. Winterhalter, age 12. Behind is his brother David, age 6. The pusher on the rear is their brother Bobby, Robert, age 15.
Annie Leavitt Thurston experienced the Great Depression and World War II. She said life wasn't easy with the gas and meat rations.
Lockwood L. Lake graduated from Ashland High School in 1932. As a corporal and armorer in the U.S. Army Air Force during World War II, he received a Distinguished Merit Badge, a presidential citation for outstanding service performed in combat. He and other crew members made it back to safety through the Alps after their pilot was killed and their plane severely damaged. Later, as a staff sergeant and gunner, Lockwood Lake received a Certificate of Merit for numerous awards, including the Distinguished Flying Cross, for extraordinary achievement while participating in serial flight against the enemy in the Mediterranean theater.
It was a well-known place between Boston and Worcester called Crosty's, and it resided in Ashland. And they had floor shows and singing, and they had a band there on a regular basis. And it was named after my great-grandfather, who had come over from Italy. My great-grandfather, his name was Crosty Tognoli. That was a barn, a big barn when he moved there.
Two reminiscences came from Ashland women who passed their 100th birthdays, Annie Leavitt Thurston and Zella Stone Thompson. They were both part of the Lily of the Valley Girl Scout troop and graduated from Ashland High School in 1925. For over 50 years, Annie worked as a secretary for Henry E. Warren of Telecron fame. Zella was recording secretary for the Rebecca's Lodge Fraternal Order for over 50 years. She also knitted lots of mittens each year for the Federated Church's collection for the needy.
My name is Gabriel McGarian. I was born in Southborough. We moved to Ashland when I was 6 months old onto 126 Cardinal Road. We had a farm, we had cows, we had chickens, but our main thing was chickens. We called the farm Brickhouse Poultry Farm. We had some large chicken houses we built ourselves. We had a one horse and a buggy, and my sister and I my father used to ride us to the town of Ashland to buy stuff, but I just barely remember that because I was only a young kid. When my father first started, he had leghorns, and then we found out that people in New England don't eat white eggs, they eat brown eggs. So that's where we changed over to all what we called the Rhode Island Red Bird.